Hey mamas, you're listening to the Balanced Working Mama podcast, the only podcast teaching you how to balance your work, motherhood, and wellness. I am Dr. Amber Thornton, clinical psychologist and mama wellness consultant. Each week we dive into tips and strategies and much more so that you too can become a balanced working mama. Let's dive in. Hey mamas, I hope that everybody is doing well, and I'm so glad that you are back listening to the podcast. Thanks for coming back. Honestly, sometimes I think about this, like what I'm doing with Balanced Working Mama and the podcast and the Empower Wellness program. And, I've got some things coming up that I'm planning for, some events. And sometimes I'm just like, I can't believe people are listening to me. But really, it's just I'm very, very, very passionate about helping other moms balance everything that we're doing. And so let's check in. Let's check in for today. Let's see. It's Sunday. As always, I record on Sundays, and I am I'll be honest, I'm a little overwhelmed today. I've got group later today. I just finished working with someone in another service that I offer that's completely separate from Balanced Working Mama. It's called Become a Psychologist, where I help individuals really successfully get into graduate school the first time around. And I really enjoyed that work too, but I think I've got a lot going on today. I had a brainstorming session with my lady who wants to become a psychologist so that she can get her essays off the ground, and I think she's going to do an amazing job. So I've got a lot that I'm thinking about today, but really the big thing that's on my mind is that um, moving forward. So I'm currently working from home, and so is my husband, and that's not our norm. This is definitely because of the pandemic. When in March, when everything happened, we worked from home and we pulled our son out of daycare. Well, honestly, no, daycare closed. So they forced us out. So from March, we've all just been here every day, all day, just us. And I was so scared and hesitant to have him, my son, go anywhere else because I just didn't think it was safe yet. But I recently realized that I really had to modify my anxiety. I had to really do some work on challenging my anxiety about the risk of COVID. And I think it's just the reality of where we're at right now is what I had realized I had to do is I had to modify my level of risk. Before I was operating in a place where I didn't want to risk it at all. And so that meant we stay in the house all day, every day, no exceptions. And now I had to modify that to I am minimizing the risk. And so what that has meant is that we now are using the help of extended family members, the grandparents, to really provide childcare because we're still not ready for daycare, but we knew that somebody else has to watch C3 during the day. So we're gearing up for that. Tomorrow, C3 is going to go with his grandma, and then there are some days he's going to go with grandpa. So I'm working on making sure that he has everything that he needs so that he can have a successful day with his family and I can stay home and do the work that I'm passionate about. So that is just, hey, we out here being balanced working mamas. So that's what's on my mind. But definitely, I'm thinking of everybody who's really trying hard to juggle and manage during the pandemic because it makes things hard, especially if you already felt like you were having trouble managing and balancing. This can make it even more intense. And so, again, my mission is to help all the mamas better balance work, motherhood, and wellness so that things don't feel like such a struggle. It doesn't feel like such a sacrifice. And that's what we're doing. So I hope that y'all enjoy today's episode. Hey mama, I want to quickly tell you about the Empower Wellness program. This is a dynamic 6-week group for working mothers who are tired of feeling overwhelmed, fatigued, burdened by mom guilt, but then also just not having enough time for themselves. This program takes all of that and transforms it into more wellness, more time for yourself, better priorities, community with other mothers, but then overall balance in your work, motherhood, and wellness. To learn more about the Empower Wellness program, head over to balanceworkingmama.com. There you can find when the next program begins, what to expect, but then also how to sign up. Hope to see you in the next group. So, we are back with another core value. As you all know, this first season, we are going through 8 core values of Balanced Working Mama. We've already done B for bold and firm boundaries. We have done A for always prioritize your wellness. And now we are at L, live fully in all of your identities. So this one is actually one of my favorites. This one right here is really truly important to me, and probably the one that really has helped to enhance my motherhood journey tremendously is always making sure that I'm living full in all of my identities. So I actually want to start with an exercise. So this is gonna be fun. It's not gonna be scary. So wherever you are, hopefully you can engage in this exercise a little bit. And if you feel like you need to come back to it, that's okay too. What might help is if you have a pen and paper or just your phone where you could take some notes, or you could just listen and just kind of like think about it to yourself. But I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm going to ask you 4 questions. And the first question is, outside of motherhood, who are you? Outside of motherhood, who are you? I'm going to give you some time to pause and think about it, because I think when it comes to thinking about who we are, that question is just challenging in general, because I don't know, it takes a moment. You have to really think about it. But then also what happens is when we become mothers, the parts of us outside of motherhood sometimes are not as easy to grasp. So the very first question I want to ask you is, outside of motherhood, who are you? Question number 2. What 3 things light you up and really make you come alive? What are 3 things that light you up and really make you come alive? I'm going to give you some time to think about it, because again, these are not questions that were asked often, so they can be tricky. Question number 3. What 3 things could you do for hours nonstop if you had the chance? What 3 things could you do for hours nonstop if you had the chance? So I'm not saying that you should do things for hours nonstop, because you got to eat and sleep and rest and stuff. But if you had a chance to just dive in and do something for hours nonstop, what would those 3 things be? And then question number 4. What are your top 3 personal or professional goals? What are your top 3 personal or professional goals? So I hope that you have some ideas in your head based on the questions that I just asked, because now I'm going to ask you 4 more questions about your experience of the previous 4 questions. So I guess I first want to know, were any of those hard for you to answer? And my guess is that for most of you, it might have been hard to answer some of those questions. And I want to get to why in a little bit, but I just want to know, were any of those questions hard for you to answer? My second question is, did you feel lost or uncertain about any of those questions? Did those questions bring confusion for you, or did they bring this uneasiness or even anxiety about maybe not having the answers or not knowing? My next question is, did you notice your responses constantly linking back to motherhood in some capacity? Did you notice your responses constantly linking back to motherhood in some capacity? And then lastly, how much time or energy do you devote to the things that I asked you to think about? Specifically, the things that really light you up and make you come alive. Specifically, the things that you could do for hours nonstop, but then also your three top personal professional goals. How much time and energy are you devoting to those things that you say are important? So, now that I've confused you and got you reflecting very deeply, I want to bring it back to the topic for today. And again, the topic is living fully in all of your identities. And my hope is that what those questions did for you today was really get you thinking about what are the other parts of me outside of motherhood? What are the other parts of me that exist outside of motherhood? This is extremely important. And actually, I'm going to tell a tiny story about why this is so important for me. And you all have maybe heard this story before, but I bring it up so often because it means so much to me. Um, there was a time where I didn't want to be a mother. And it's because I was afraid that motherhood would take away from the things that I was passionate about, the things that I cared about, myself. I had finally got to a place in my late 20s where I truly liked who I was. I loved who I was. I loved the career that I was starting to build. I could see where I was going in terms of the future of building my career and just continuing to develop who I am as a woman and as a person. And I was afraid that if I had children, my focus that I spent so many years trying to put on me because for so many years, and I'm sure that y'all can relate, I spent too much of my time as a young woman focusing on what other people thought of me or what other men thought of me or what I needed to do to attract the attention of other people and other men. And that was no longer where I was at. I was finally in a place in my late 30s where I was so focused on who I wanted to be and who I was becoming. I didn't want nothing else to shift that. And I assumed that motherhood would take that focus away. And I wasn't trying to have that. So I just decided, you know what, girl? We're not going to have kids because if you do, all this hard work that you put in will be gone. And so luckily I changed my mind. I along the way realized that I could be a little bit more flexible in my thinking about navigating motherhood, my career, and also developing myself. And it didn't have to be all or nothing. But that fear came from seeing it be all or nothing from so many other women in the past. And so, what I was able to do was learn how to fully live in all of my identities. So, today, in my motherhood journey, I acknowledge that I am a mother to an amazing, beautiful little boy. One day I hope to have more children. But aside from being a mom, I'm an amazing psychologist, yo. Like, I'm amazing at this shit. I am a great podcaster. I am a mama wellness coach. I am building a business. I help people. I am a decent wife. I always joke about that part. I'm a decent wife. I'm a friend. I am a sister. I am so many other things. And me being intentional about holding on to all of those parts of me as I went into motherhood has made it so I could realize that I could be a mom and still hold on to all these things. And I love it. I will never, ever neglect those other parts of me because they are so important. They bring me joy, they bring me peace, happiness, satisfaction. Being a mom is so amazing, but only being a mom could never bring me the joy and the happiness that all of these things together bring me. And that is what I want for all of you too. I want you to tap into those other identities that will help to complete the picture of who you are. Because you are a mom. You are an amazing mom. You show up every day for this job. But guess what? You are a lot of other things too. And those are equally as important. So I want to talk a little bit about what happens when we forego our identities, our dreams, our goals, our passions. How does that even happen? And I have three hypotheses about why that happens. And one is because motherhood is overwhelming, bro. Like, we can read all the books. We can talk to our moms and our mom friends about, well, okay, well, what's going to be like when I become a mom? What's that transition like? But nobody can fully prepare you for the transition of becoming a woman without children to then becoming a woman with children. Like, that's a big transition. And so that is one reason why we often forgo our identities, dreams, goals, and passions, because motherhood in and of itself is just overwhelming, and it's a huge transition. It's a bigger transition than that we might not ever feel such a big transition like that ever again. And so that's one reason how and why that happens. And so if you realize you are in a place where you might have foregone, is that the word? You may have not been as intentional about these other parts of you. It's okay because you are not alone. And this is one of the reasons why. It's because motherhood, that transition into motherhood is so overwhelming that it leads us to um, neglect those other parts so that we can focus so much energy on motherhood. I get it. I get it. My second hypothesis about why we end up foregoing our identities, dreams, goals, and passions is because we assume that by forgetting that old part of us, or I'm sorry, we assume that we have to forego that a part of us to become good mothers. And this I blame on society. Um, and just old beliefs about motherhood. I think many of us and many of our mothers and grandmothers were taught, hey, you're a mom now, so you got to let that stuff go. Or hey, you're a mom now, so you just can't be as ambitious as you used to be. You got to show up for your kids. You got to be a good mom. Your family and your children always should come first. And I'm here to tell you that is not true. That is not true. I did a live the other day. It's still on my IG in my IG, what do they call it? IGTV videos. A myth is that your family and children should always be your first priority. I don't believe that's true. Last week we talked about wellness should always be the first priority. But there might be other things that need to take priority in your life. And that doesn't mean that you walk away from your family, but instead it means that you lay the foundation so that something else can show up in your life in addition to you being a mom. So again, that old teaching or that old belief that we have to let go of our old selves in order to step into motherhood, we're letting that go. That is no longer a part of our narrative of motherhood. We are letting that go. That is not true. The third reason why I think we end up foregoing our identities, dreams, passions, and goals is because we just aren't intentional about making sure that we hold on to them as we enter into our motherhood journeys. And, this is something that I think we can absolutely correct. We can become more intentional about holding on to these parts of ourselves. And, you might be thinking, like, hey, my kids are older now and I've struggled with this for so long. It's too late for me. Mama, it's not too late for you. You absolutely can start today to tap back into that part of you or those parts of you that we started to talk about earlier in this episode. You can do it. And these are the three things that I want you to do to start tapping back into yourself. One, I want you to begin to pay attention to what makes you come alive. What are the things that you enjoy? What are the things that you desire? This is important information because it leads you to get back in touch with the parts of you that exist outside of motherhood. And so you might be saying, well, I enjoy spending time with my children. I enjoy spending time with my kids. Girl, me too. But what else? What else? What else? What else? I want to challenge you, and I'm not dismissing the joy that comes with that because I understand that there might not be a greater joy than being with your children and spending time with your kids. But what else? What are the other things that really make you come alive? Really, you really enjoy, you really desire. Pay attention to that. Keep track of those things. Next, I want you to really start being intentional about spending time with yourself, doing things with yourself. And I know this is hard, but I want you to take what you learned in the last episode about setting bold and firm boundaries and really work on carving out time for yourself. Um This is also something that the Empower Wellness program helps with a lot. Even just, the idea of I'm going to meet weekly with these groups of mothers to improve my wellness. That right there is carving out time for yourself. And so the time is there. We just have to make it a priority. So mama, I really want you to become more intentional about spending time with yourself. And this is important because it will remind you of what it's like to just be with you. We lose track of this in motherhood because our kids are constantly stuck to us. Like they're always around. You go to the bathroom, they about to knock on the door. But you have to prioritize, okay, take 5 minutes to yourself because it's going to remind you what it's like for you to just be with you. And you have to become curious about seeking this time out and enjoying it more. And then lastly, I want you to remember that when you are living in your full life in all of your identities, all of the roles, when you are living intentionally and fully in all of your identities, you are happier, you are healthier, you are a more whole person, and it enhances your motherhood in ways that you don't even realize. So I want to really encourage you today, mama, go back to those questions that we talked about earlier in the episode. If they were a struggle to you today, it's okay, because a month from now they might not be a struggle, because you're going to walk away from this episode today and really think about what are the things that make you come alive. You're going to spend some time with yourself, and you are going to realize that fully living in all of your identities is the key to healthy motherhood. Hey mama, if you need a boost in your wellness but just not sure where to begin, the Balanced Working Mama Wellness Assessment is just what you need. With 18 questions, we assess for 12 critical areas of wellness for working mothers. The wellness assessment brings awareness and clarity that you didn't have before, so you can know how to better move forward in your wellness and your motherhood journeys. The best part is that you get to review your results with me and get personalized recommendations for how to move forward. To learn more and to go take your wellness assessment, head over to balancedworkingmama.com today. All right, mama, I'm going to leave you with some Balanced Working Mama empowerment. And what really stands out to me today is that, yes, it can be hard to pursue our goals, pursue our dreams, pursue our passions, and be a mother. It's not an easy juggling act, but you're doing it. And you know who's seeing you do it? Your children, your babies. They're seeing you do it. And, they might not be in a place yet where they can tell you what they see or let you know, but they are going to benefit so much from seeing you living your truth and pursue your dreams, pursue your passions, take care of yourself, prioritize your wellness, live in all of your identities. They are going to be so much better because they get to see their mama doing it. So if you ever feel guilty for taking the time for yourself or maybe prioritizing those other things that are important to you, just know that your children are learning from you, and they are learning that it is okay to take a moment to step away and take care of yourself. It is okay to pursue your dreams, even if you are a mom. It is okay to do what is best for you, and that is a valuable lesson. So please keep going. Don't stop, because they are watching and they need to see it. Hey, mama. Thank you for listening to the Balanced Working Mama podcast. If you love this podcast, please be sure to rate it and share it with another mama that you know. And don't forget to follow me and Balanced Working Mama on Instagram. I'll talk to you soon.